The insanity of Kid Nation.
Those are extremely fake. Crying, screaming, fighting, the normal things to have in these shows, correct? But what if I told you they were real this time? And the cast? Literal children between 8 and 15 years old. Now, if I told you that people enjoyed the book Lord of the Flies, you wouldn't be very surprised, would you?
I read that shit. I feel like every kid... What's one book that every kid in the U.S. has read? Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Tom Sawyer, Lord of the Flies, Hatchet. Hatchet is one I feel like everybody's read. No, I haven't read Hatchet. Great Gatsby. Great Gatsby, yeah, everybody reads in high school. The Hunger Games, I don't think everybody's read that. I think in-school required reading, if we're going based off legitimate required reading, I would say, yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird, Great Gatsby, Tom Sawyer, and Huckleberry Finn. Flat Stanley, you might have read that in, like, kindergarten. The Outsiders, what is The Outsiders? Y'all are saying, all of y'all are saying Outsiders. Romeo and Juliet, yeah. But that's not really a book. That's more of, like, poetry. What the fuck is The Outsiders? I never read The Outsiders. Y'all read that?
I mean, it's one of the most famous books of all time and was written by a Nobel Prize-winning author. But one man
Charlotte's Web? Okay, yeah, there's one.
To love it a little too much. His name, Jonathan Karsh. Born on October 16th of 1971, he became an executive film producer. I would love to be able to tell you more about this immaculate specimen, but all you find when looking for Jonathan Karsh's life is 13 facts about his birthday, and then more facts about his birthday, and then the day he was born, and his birthday. In 2003, however, Jonathan Karsh won the 2003 Sundance Film Festival Best Director Award for the documentary
See, okay, nah, like, now you're just handing out awards, bruh. Like, see, that's what I'm saying. Whenever we watch short horror films, award-winning. 2003 Sundance Film Festival Best Director Award. Well, yeah, the 2005, 7-Eleven in Orlando, Florida, Best Actor, Coach Actor, AI Robot Actor Award goes to, like, we're just handing out awards for nothing. There's so many fucking award shows.
After a pretty stagnant few years, in 2007, Jonathan Karsh would host the most controversial reality show of the time. During the screening for TV reviewers, producer Tom Foreman acknowledged that, and I quote, Kid Nation would inevitably share some elements with William Golding's novel Lord of the Flies.
Isn't Lord of the Flies where they start murdering each other and eating each other on, like, an island, and they make, like, groups, and they, like, kill each other?
Book where they literally kill the fat kid. And then,
answer my question.
On September 19th of 2007,
40 kids! 40 days! They might starve to death. No adults. That's not good. 15 deaths. Kid Nation.
This show...
They would start... I feel like if you dropped 40 kids off in the middle of the fucking desert, they'd die in 3 days.
Follows 40 kids that are bussed in like soldiers, packed heavily into one school bus with all of their belongings. Once they are herded off the bus like sheep, Jonathan makes it very apparent to these, once again, literal children that they are completely alone here in the middle of nowhere.
Okay, well, what about the fucking cameramen? Like, see, that's like when I'm watching Naked and Afraid. It's always like, it's Naked and Afraid is hyper-realistic until you realize there's some dude eating a granola bar filming this motherfucker die of dysentery. Like, then it just detaches the whole struggle. Like, I know a lot of the time they're vlogging, but like that, there's this one show called Alone, which is actually the best fucking show if you're trying to watch some survival shit, because they have to film themselves entirely, and they only get checkups like once a week for like 20 minutes to make sure they're alive. Naked and Afraid pisses me off because, like, there's literally some dude just filming these people butt-ass naked, like, just dying. Like, they're there. Like, there's cameramen here. If you actually dropped off, because these kids live, right? There's no way these kids die. If you actually drop 40 kids off in Bonanza Creek Ranch and just let them fucking run wild, 10 of them are dead in the first day. Easily.
Bonanza City, New Mexico, which has now become a movie set and is the exact same place as the tragic incident during the filming of the movie Rust. They are given their food, animals, and other...
Why the hell does that kid have a guitar?
necessities in huge crates on wagons that they are forced to
Are
pull.
they gonna have to murder the goats? Nah, that's a good show. I already named all the goats, though. Well, I'm gonna kill Susan.
Right out of the gate, there was fighting between this guy Greg and this guy Mike. But that's not it. DK over here ends up cramping and collapsing halfway through.
Yep,
They
leave him to die. Leave him to die. It's already over.
finally arrive in the town, and, well, everything should be good from here, right? I mean, they're in the town, they have all of their necessities, everything should go great, right? Wrong. Their mattresses are packed into small containers and are the thickness of a blanket, which means that they are forced
Oh,
to
hell no. Dude, do you think they're getting paid for this, or the parents put them up for this shit? Oh my god, they gotta sleep in this fucking weird-ass town?
with blankets that are, according to Jimmy, the thickness of a carpet. They don't even get a pillow. And then, dinner. The children are forced to do everything on their own.
They have to cook for themselves. Oh my god, there's no way they don't get sick. There's no way they don't get fucking salmonella.
And, well, I mean, they're children. They put pasta into the pot before it boils, and then they put so much that they can barely move the ladle through the water. But they finally make mush on a plate. The next day, the food is better, but now kids are eating all of the food and not leaving any for my main man, Jared, over here. The kids fight, Greg and Mike have another conflict, everyone shouts until Michael steps up to control it.
All right, if we already ran out of food day one, everybody. I think we need to sacrifice somebody to eat, because we've all agreed to not kill the pet goats. I say we eat Jared.
Later, Jonathan Karsh reveals that his brilliant idea is setting up a caste system for the children that is decided through a giant
A caste system? Oh my god, are we going back fucking 400 years? Jesus Christ. The religious caste system.
They each get paid for doing their jobs. A solid $1 in buffalo nickels for the upper class, who don't have any specific job to do, 50 cents for the merchants who run the stores, 25 cents for the cooks who make all the food and wash the dishes, and a whopping 10 cents for the labor class, who take
10 cents? Yo, I'm about to be fucking dealing Starburst packets in the alleyways.
The greatest thing is that the weakest and worst group in these challenges do all the physical labor and the most amount of tasks. This town was doomed to fail from the very beginning, but there are 4 more kids outside of any of these groups. They are called the Council. Each one is in charge of one of the groups, and every 4 days or so, they have to pick one kid to get an award. A 2-pound gold star that's worth its weight in gold. Literally. $20,000.
Look at that kid. That kid's about to start sweating how many V-Bucks he can buy in fucking 10 years after this show airs. Let's hope he kept on to the gold star. $20,000. Pre-tax. Game shows today are the biggest scams in the world. They used to give more money back then when inflation was worse. Or not as bad. Now, dude, you're getting fucking 10K on America Says, or 5K on America Sends. Yeah, let's split the money amongst 5 people. We each get $1,000 post-tax. We get fucking $700. Oh, post-flight, we're left with $200.
They're in a hierarchical system, making them do absolutely everything themselves, and adding the extra competition for $20,000, they have to deal with a lot more than just that. They only have one outhouse for the first few days that they are there, with a line that lasted hours and a mountain of waste piling up inside.
Wow. They had one toilet for 40 people?
Weather events that these children have to deal with on the fly, which is a literal dust storm that is knocking over their new
knocks over the outhouse. Jared's in there. Jared, get out!
Outhouses. Multiple kids have ingested bleach throughout the show. One girl got multiple
How did they accidentally ingest bleach?
Grease burns, and they could only talk to their parents right after they win the gold star on the only phone in the town. This show was insane, but...
Oh my god, do they have to kill the chickens themselves?
It's a reality show, so it isn't real, right? Well, for that, let's turn to the statements from the actual kids in the show. JonTron did an interview with the youngest kid on the show, Jimmy, and according to him, it was almost exactly what we see on camera. But this is only one of the cast members. and it was the youngest, so he might not remember everything correctly. So let's turn to Reddit. Michael, the character that took charge in the episode, had an AMA on Reddit where he also mentioned that this show was extremely accurate to how it was shown on screen. Let's take a look at some of the absolutely insane things in this show, now knowing that they are real. In episode 2, the kids were very tired of the terrible food that was being made by these children, and they decided it was time for some protein. They were planning on—
Are they gonna murder the chicken? Oh my god, dude. Imagine a group of fucking 8-year-olds have to crowd around a chicken and somehow kill it, clean it, and then cook it and not die along the process.
But some of the kids didn't like this idea. They chicken wired themselves into the chicken coop, pun intended, and were speculating on what the other people might do to their beloved chickens. And
see, now I knew that shit would happen. They already named them. They named him Susan and shit. Dude, you already eat your fucking dino nuggets at home. Open the goddamn chicken wire. We gotta cut its head off or we're gonna starve.
eventually, Greg and the others got into the chicken coop and, in front of all the other kids and camera people, beheaded the chickens and plucked them to put in a stew. They were so desperate for food that they killed their chickens and the crew let them.
Yo! Oh my god, no way. Dude, that's crazy. They were allowed to fucking run in there and just chop the chickens' heads off?
This isn't the first time the camera people just watch these kids instead of helping them. In the first episode, they filmed the youngest kid crying behind the house. They just film him. The anger in these kids grows and grows, and they all constantly gang up on the yellow team council leader, Taylor. Don't get me wrong, I am not defending Taylor. But when it gets to the point that she is crying multiple times an episode because she is constantly getting berated by everyone else in the town, one would assume that anyone else would intervene. Jonathan Karsh even stands—
Well, why are they yelling at her?
In episode 4, the kids start discussing religion. Many of the kids act very—
discussing religion. Imagine half all of them are like, God isn't real. We're gonna be stuck here forever.
But this could be a great learning experience if there was a mature person to actually teach them about these types of situations.
Yeah, if there's somebody to intervene, dude, they're all 10. Fucking talking about God.
But once again, there is no one to intervene, and everybody else is a literal child. So instead of creating an actual learning opportunity about tolerance and other beliefs, they continue to yell and berate each other with no intervention. I really don't understand Jonathan in the show. He is the host of the show, but all he does is announce the theme of the showdown.
Yeah, he's like barely there, it seems. He's just like, welcome to the episode. This is what's gonna happen. And then he's just not there the rest of the show. And he probably gets paid more than all the 40 kids combined.
And repeat the same line over and over again. He feels as—
Golden star, which is worth more than its weight in gold.
In episode 6, Jonathan has them dig through a giant pile of beans, looking for a few cans, while pigs are wriggling around. And what's their prize for completing this challenge? Fresh produce. Only now, after weeks, do they get—
No way they've been there for weeks.
In episode 8, the showdown that they do is just an immature and idiotic idea from the crew.
Imagine they start a mutiny and just rip the fucking council's arms off. They shove the host to the side. They scream mutiny and just fucking rip their limbs off.
That could have ended up leading to injury. They have to get gumballs, chew them, and color in a picture by sticking the chewed gum to it. Not even mentioning the absolute nightmare that this is looking at it now with COVID, but even then, not only is it extremely unsanitary and unhealthy for everyone involved, but there are multiple kids here with braces. For those of you who have never worn braces—
I chewed gum with braces.
Allegedly, during a seltzer fight, DK ended up being sprayed with and consumed bleach, and he wasn't the only one. During the show, the kids had allegedly cleaned the dishes with bleach, which caused multiple kids to become sick. And while we don't know exactly what happened to them, in the words of Jimmy, you can't feel good after drinking bleach. In episode 9, they decided to mix up their teams, which many of the kids did not like, and it turned into insult wars being thrown back and forth. At this point in the show, it's not even just that the crew were just bystanders during the show, but at some points, they influenced the conflict that led to some big incidents. Taylor has a very infamous line, "Ugly chickens deserve to die." This was a huge
Ugly chickens deserve to die.
and disgusting line that left a sour taste in everyone's mouth about Taylor. But apparently, this line was fed to her by the actual crew. Once again, don't get me wrong, I am not defending Taylor. She was a very conflict-inducing person that got my blood pressure rising quite a bit, especially when talking back to some of my favorite people like Greg, Blaine, and Michael.
Yo, they should do a fucking, like, reunion, like, where are these kids now?
In episode 13, the season finale, the class system is burnt down, and they try to stop it by throwing buckets of water, and of course, Jared helps as best he can and throws a cup of water on it. Then, they have one final showdown where they set up the entire town
Who wins the show? Does somebody win the show?
for a huge reunion with their parents, who are running like a stampede towards the town. Finally, they have one last council meeting where they reward three
My parents are here now!
$50,000 gold stars, but Jared never gets one. How dare they?
Jared got no bread the whole show?
See, this show was absolutely insane. CBS canceled it very soon after, not even scheduling it for a season 2, and understandably so. With everything that went down in it, some of the parents began trying to sue for what their children went through, but the amazing...
Well, you kind of signed a contract for your kid to go fucking through this shit.
And I say that in the biggest air quotes possible, amazing crew came up with their contract. Woo boy, this contract is super scummy. The New York Times ended up getting
do they get to see the contract? Yeah, it's probably they can't sue for anything.
Copy of the contract, and according to them, it contained some crazy stuff. Apparently, even though the children were paid, they were not subject to any state or federal laws, meaning they could keep the children working as long as they wanted, and they didn't have to follow laws.
Okay, but like, bro, that's on the parents for not reading the fucking contract. Like, you're giving your 8-year-old away to this family, and you're not gonna read the fucking fine print that says, oh yeah, we could keep them and make them work forever.
It was in fact so scummy that it made sure not to hold any of the producers responsible if any of the children got pregnant, contracted STDs, suffered emotional distress, received inadequate medical care, housing was unsafe, were injured, or even if they died.
If they died? Dude, oh my god. You're telling me the parents read that fucking sentence? Bro, that's as bad as the fucking Ocean Gate submarine shit. You're like, I'm gonna read that. Yeah, let me sign. All right, see you in a month, Timmy. If you die, I can't sue.
Worse is that even though the children did receive $5,000 for being on the show...
Oh, $5,000? $5,000 in 2007. 5,000 in 2007 today. That's $7,333. That's awful.
This show is absolute insanity and was probably not very fun for the kids to film, but at least there were some good friendships that were made from it.
That's actually pretty cool if they became friends after that, but it's also probably just some traumatic shit. They might just never speak to each other. They should do a reunion. Lock in here. I spent 100 hours in the world's richest city.